My name is Sujoy Roy, and I'm known as the UK's first pro gamer. So I was one of the first people to become an esports professional, and today I work for Luckbox as Director of Esports. I've been a gamer my whole life, but when I went to university, all of a sudden I had access to the internet and a whole range of different people to play against, and I found out I was really good at Quake. I kept playing, I got better and better until I hit #1 on the rankings. And I guess my career came from that. It was that desire to compete, to be the best at something. And as Quake grew and we got more and more competitions, I found I could travel the world and eventually become a professional Quake player. So this was very early on, and I'm talking 20 years ago now, and it's nothing like what it is today. Back then we didn't have live stream services, so you couldn't tune into a live broadcast of an event. We didn't have the kind of viewers we had, and we didn't have the prize money we have today. So back when I was doing it, there wasn't as much money involved. It was, pretty amazing at the time, but nowhere near as big as what you have now. So in a way, I was one of the first, but I definitely didn't make the kind of money professional gamers today have. I'd been playing for about, I suppose, 4 or 5 years at the top level before I even considered going professional. It was later on when Quake 3 came out, all of a sudden there were prize money tournaments that had gone up to $100,000, which doesn't sound so great now maybe, but back then that was incredible. And I realized there were companies, particularly people who made the accessories for gaming, like mice and keyboards and so on, who were willing to sponsor events and sponsor players. So when I went and won a tournament, I had a word with the people who made these accessories and said, "Hey, do you want to sponsor me?" They said, "Okay." And one thing led to another. Eventually, I found myself on the professional tour going around the world representing these brands, being a professional gamer. It was pretty interesting, as I guess a novelty story for the media. So it was pretty easy for me to then get onto a show like The Big Breakfast, where they were just shocked somebody could become a professional and play video games for a living. It was just brand new and no one had ever heard of it, and it was just an interesting thing to tell people. For me though, when I first started playing, it wasn't that hard to sort of get noticed. And once I was on one show, I'd roll over and it'd become a snowball effect. I'd get more and more people asking me for interviews and just wanting to find out more about what is this esports? What is professional video games? Why do people want to watch it? And what's so great about it? This was the early days of the internet. I'm talking 1996, 1997. This is the first time people had played video games online. So it was a new thing. And I guess it was something... there weren't as many people playing, but they were just as competitive. Now today, let's compare it to now. It's quite normal to play games. Everyone's got a console at home, or they play online on PC. And it's normal to play online and play against the best people. So it's become so much more competitive because there's millions of people playing these games online. And as well as that, we have professional esports tournaments where there are millions of dollars in prize money, and the best players are practicing day after day to become the best. And they have team houses, and they have coaches, they even have nutritionists who are helping them just make sure they're at the top of their game. It's much more competitive now. So it's a cutthroat world. I'm not sure if I'd cut it now. I'd like to think I would, but honestly, it's much more difficult today. So my professional gaming career lasted from about 99 to say 2002. And it was a case that the game I played, the game that I was great at, just wasn't lasting. It kind of died off and other games took their place. So my game was Quake 3, but games like Counter-Strike were just taking off then. So it was a case that the game I played and the tournaments I was in just stopped happening. And that's one of the pitfalls of being a professional gamer, is what happens when your game is no longer top. But yeah, I always found a place for myself because I wanted to run tournaments, I wanted to build venues, I wanted to help build the infrastructure that makes esports and professional video gaming happen. I ran a number of big events in the UK, including the World Cyber Games, which was the equivalent of the Olympics at the time. Every country around the world was putting together a national team and sending them to the finals to compete under the their own flag. So we had some like really great breakout players that were brilliant at Unreal Tournament, and we were particularly strong at FIFA. I think you can imagine, obviously we have a lot of FIFA players in the UK. We had the world's #1 for a long, long time. So yeah, we've had a lot of great talent discovered in the UK in these tournaments. And I mean, I'm hoping that as time goes on, we'll get more and more great players from the UK. There's a lot of new platforms that have come out on the internet. YouTube particularly has changed the playing field, I think. And more recently, Twitch as well as a live streaming platform has really changed the way people watch content and watch their entertainment. We've seen so many breakout stars on YouTube, people who love gaming and love to create content. For me, what was instrumental though was when Twitch started providing this platform so that you can live stream yourself playing games. This is where we've seen so many new sort of celebrities, internet celebrities, and gaming celebrities make their name. And particularly gaming tournaments all of a sudden had a place where people could tune in and watch them. And that's what changed my industry, esports, from being, you know, kind of a small niche novelty event to a huge worldwide breakout success. Today, the biggest tournaments in the world will have millions and millions of viewers all tuning in on the live stream. Because you know what? TV never really wanted to show this stuff, but there was an audience. There's millions of people who wanted to watch it. And now there's a place where they all tune in and watch it. So, you know, the internet has changed everything. It's meant that there's a whole new series of stars, of celebrities and people online who get coverage now, who get their fan base. And that's why all of esports works now. About 10 years ago, around 2007 actually, I started Gamerbase. The idea was to create a venue, a social venue where people could play games. I'd been running big tournament events before then, and it drove me nuts that I would build a huge LAN environment in a exhibition hall, run an event, have lots of people come through, but then have to tear it down at the end of it. It just made much more sense to have a permanent place where there were video games available, people could come every day of the year and play and socialize and make friends. And that's why I started Gamerbase. That's where the idea came from. And it was a huge success at the time. I set up my first one in the Trocadero in central London, and had people come in and compete and play games and socialize and try new things. You know, it was one of the best venues that existed in the world. Gaming's always had this underground feeling to it, that it's something you sort of do on your own in your bedroom, and that's obviously changing. You know, we look at games today and everyone plays them, but it's taken time. And Gamerbase, my venue, was, I think, one of the things that helped bring it out of this isolated experience, because gaming is social. People play games together and they want to show off, or they want to show their mates what they can do. It's a very social thing. It's become mainstream. Today, gamers are the celebrities as well. So it's okay to play a game. I think we've normalized it now, that if you're a gamer and you love playing video games, or maybe you're great at video games, maybe you're the best in the world, all of that stuff is fine, and you know, you should be proud of it, and it's something I love to celebrate. The next big step for gaming is to have more of these competitions. Now, I work in esports, where we have the biggest tournaments in the world and people competing for millions of dollars of prize money. And these events are only going to grow. I've just come back from an event in Vancouver. It's the biggest esports event in the world. It's called TI8. It was Dota 2. We had $25 million of prize money. That's bigger than a lot of sports events. And, you know, we had an arena full of fans who were crazy about their team, who were wearing the shirts and cheering. It was loud and deafening in the arena. It's already here. It's already happening. And I think there's just going to be more of that. We're going to see more tournaments, and we're going to see gamers celebrated more and more for being great at the game. So a lot of kids today will come home from school and just jump onto their console or their PC and play games like Fortnite. You know, people raise questions of, is this bad for them? Now, I think it's the same with any type of entertainment. If you play chess too much, you're not getting much exercise. gaming has to be part of a lifestyle, and it can't be the only thing. You've still got to go out and play sport and be physically active. But what gaming does do, as long as you don't do it too much, is it helps you hone your mind, work out strategy and reactions. And there's so many brilliant aspects of gaming that you should celebrate. Now, if you do it too much, it's going to be bad for you. It's the same as anything else in life. So in moderation, I think gaming should be part of people's lives, because it's really important to compete and to try and get good at something. It teaches you great life skills. With the growth of esports, what we see already happen is betting on esports. Now, to somebody who doesn't know the video gaming industry, that will sound insane. What do you mean betting on people playing video games? How can that make sense? But it does, because esports is a valid event now, and the tournaments are serious affairs where the teams are preparing against each other for months and months and training all year for an event. So it's natural that betting is going to happen. And the reason why I joined Luckbox, I'm director of esports there, is to help provide a proper platform for betting. Because in the past, there's been a lot of shady operators, and it's about time to get a gaming operator that does it properly. So we're fully licensed, we've got player protections in mind, and we want to do it the right way. We want to provide the right kind of place to bet on video games while providing protections to people. Luckbox is different from the mainstream operators like Bet365 and Pinnacle and so on. We have the same protections. We operate under the strictest licenses, but what we do is we provide a platform that gamers expect. Is because they don't expect to see a table of numbers. They want to see graphics, they want to see the teams, they want to see certain information about the games going on, and you can't provide them sort of a copied format from football. It just doesn't work right, and gamers, they already expect to have everything they want on the screen. So we're providing that experience that's going to make them enjoy betting, while at the same time providing the protections of a fully licensed, properly operated platform for betting. In 2019, when we launch, Luckbox is going to be available on our website, but it's also going to be an app in the app stores. The reason why you don't always see esports betting in app stores is because they're not properly licensed, but we will have all the proper licenses, which means you can download the app and play on your phone while you're, say, watching it on Twitch on your PC or on your TV at the same time. The way we've planned it is to have, live streams on the screen. We want all the stats available. We want you to be able to look through previous results, and we want everything there that you expect as a gamer, because gamers are already spoiled with information when they're playing. So when they're betting, we want them to be spoiled with the perfect user experience as well. So a lot of real sports clubs today are maybe not thinking about what the next generation of fans are doing. And one thing they are doing is watching video games and watching competitive video games. We've seen a few football clubs take on an esports player, a video games player. And I think we should see more of that, because the fans today really want something to latch onto. And I think the brands of established football clubs are where it's at. It's where you build the fan base and you have a local team. So it would totally make sense for them to take on a proper esports team and be part of this whole new world, because there's a whole generation of kids growing up who maybe will miss out on it otherwise, because they'll be watching video games instead of watching football, So it's time that sports took notice of video games. One of the things I do as director of esports at Luckbox is I go out and I tell people how great esports is, or at least how great I think it is. So yeah, I think it is part of my job to go and talk to sports and to other places, other mainstream areas, and tell them, you should be getting into video games. That's where the next generation of your audience is going to be. They're going to be watching, they're heroes, not necessarily going to be football stars. They might be video game stars. So the way esports works these days is generally people watch for free. It's sort of grown up in this area where you can tune into a live stream and you don't have to pay for it. So that's going to be really different to what established sports are like. Usually you have to get a subscription if you want to watch football. So I think companies like us, like Luckbox, it's our job to get involved in this industry and help plow back marketing. So we'll be sponsoring events and teams and players. And I think this is actually what will make esports and professional video gaming work, is by having the money from betting roll back into the industry. Because without broadcast rights, the money has to come from somewhere. And one source is us in gambling. So part of my job in the future will be to make sure we reinvest in esports. So money that we make needs to reinvest into the community, into scenes, into events, and help keep this snowball going and grow esports as a whole. So when you place a bet on a video game, it's the same as placing a bet on sports. It gets you more engaged. And I've always found when I've got money riding on one team and there's a competition going on, it's much more fun to watch. And I'm like fully behind my team and hoping they win. Betting on esports is exactly the same as betting on real sports. You just get behind it and you're really invested in what's going to happen and who's going to win. With esports being a new industry, you'd think that it would be really difficult to come up with odds between two teams. How do you know who's going to win? But you'd be surprised. There's a long history of events and competitions and matches. And generally, when you've got two teams on a high-level event, a tier 1 video games competition, you have a good idea of who's going to win that. So, there's trading teams that go and set the odds and can actually be very, very accurate in what those are. And it doesn't seem like it should be because not everyone's heard of esports, but it's much more established than everybody thinks. So Luckbox, as well as being one of the first generation of esports betting sites, is also a crypto site as well, which means you can bet with cryptocurrency. We use Luckcash, which is our own cryptocurrency we've created for betting. And it means that in certain countries where it's really difficult to put your cash into a betting site, they just put blocks on these things. Even though it's legal, it may be difficult to put cash into the website. You can use cryptocurrency, which makes that transaction easy and quick, which means you can put Luckcash in and Luckcash take it out when you want without having to worry about a bank blocking that transaction. So the games that are really big in esports are League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, Hearthstone, PUBG, Fortnite. The games that maybe you'd expect to see there, things like FIFA, are actually not yet at that level. So millions of people play these games and love these games, but the competition isn't quite there. We haven't got tournaments with huge prize money yet for those games. So while we have a regular scene for these other games, it'll take time before we see things like FIFA really get into that area. I think a result of the internet age is that we've got new celebrities. So we just had the KSI versus Logan Paul boxing match. And yeah, the truth is a lot of old school sports people won't even know who they are or why there's millions of people tuning in to watch them box. And it's a brave new world you have to break into now. So I think there's going to be the whole world's going to change. There's going to be different ways to watch, and there's different celebrities and different stars that you tune into. And I think we're just going to have to wait and see how it all pans out. But, it's never going to be the same again. We've just had some sad news recently. The Madden event in Jacksonville, Florida, where one of the disgruntled players, allegedly shot up the place and some people are killed. It's a real tragedy, but personally I don't put that down to gaming. It's a country where you can have a gun and where there are shootings all the time. So I don't blame that on gaming. In the same way, a school shooting I wouldn't blame on schools. I wouldn't try and ban schools. I actually think that security is pretty good in most esports events. The big ones I go to, there's lots of security. There's metal detectors at every door. Everyone's searched on their way in. So we're already doing well on the big events. I suppose what this means is that we're just going to have to be more vigilant on the smaller events as well. So this was a smaller Madden tournament, and it's our job in the community to make sure that we provide a safe environment for everybody. From what I understand, it was a qualifier for a bigger tournament where there may have been prize money at the end, and I've certainly seen some places where they imply that, okay, he lost the game, so therefore this was retribution. I don't really see it like that. I think it was just a person who had issues, and they, unfortunately, in a place where you can have a gun, it sometimes manifests like that. And it just means we have to be more careful, especially with security. But there's obviously huge competition in these events, and there's sometimes a huge amount on the line. It's high pressure for players, and they're very competitive, and it takes a lot of work to become this good. And this is just something we have to bear in mind, is like there's a lot of pressure on people to be good at games as well. The big esports events, the stuff that I cover, things like Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, there's a big major event coming up in September in London. It's the Face It Major, where they're playing Counter-Strike, and there'll be $1 million of prize money on the line. So look out for that in Wembley, and just stay tuned to our website, luckbox.com, and find out when the next big event is. If you want to find out more about esports and get involved more in the scene, we do a regular podcast. So come check out luckbox.com, where we talk about esports pretty much every week.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe below and ding that notification bell to get our latest uploads into your inbox.